prediction time on Locked On Boston College as we are joined by Eric Hoffses today. All of that and more on Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. Happy Friday, everyone. It's the day before Boston College football kicks off against Colgate, and we have an action-packed show set for you today to talk all about BC football. We're going to talk about gambling. We're going to talk about previews. We're going to give you our predictions, and I am so excited because I am joined by my old co-host, Eric Hoffses, who's going to join us weekly during the college football season. Eric, how's it going? And welcome back.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, man.
So, Eric, you know, if you've listened to the podcast before my iteration, I think I joined Locked On Network back in November last year. Eric joined us, and Eric and I used to do BC Bulletin Radio. We used to do our own podcast. Now I do this every day, and I'm going to have Eric on, and he's going to talk all about BC football. So, I love to hear different perspectives. Eric, how are you feeling about BC football heading into the season?
I can't remember the last time I was this excited, probably since like the Matt Ryan era. The team's just loaded on offense, lots of talent on defense too. And I think for what they lack on defense, that Hafley is such a defensive mastermind that he's going to scheme it up. And this has the potential to be a really special season for BC if a few things fall right this year. And that's exciting because I really don't think we can truthfully say that they have a shot to compete with the top teams in the conference since probably the Matty Ice days, if we want to be realistic with ourselves.
No, I've posed the question, and it's on my predictions a couple of weeks ago. I said this offense has every potential to be as lethal as 2007. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely, and probably more because I think in some ways that they're on paper better than that offense. They certainly while Jurkovic, I don't know if I'm going to call him Matty Ice because he hasn't quite hit that level yet, but if he improves from what he did last year by a certain level, he can reach the level of Matty Ice. And I don't know. If I compare both those rosters, I think BC has more talent now than they did then on paper. So if it comes together and there's no injury concerns, I think they have potential to be better. And I don't think that's like crazy prognostication. I don't think they're that far off from that team to start the year.
And I look at the record, and I mean the schedule, excuse me, and that's what strikes me too, is that you get Clemson, but you avoid Miami, you avoid UNC, and you're out of conference schedule. Missouri, sure, they're an SEC school. Some people are higher on them. I'm not really. And I think BC, they pull Virginia Tech, who I have sold on hard this year. I think Justin Fuente is not a very good coach, and I think this could be the end of him this year. And you pull Virginia Tech and a Georgia Tech team who could be sneaky good this year. But I still think they're probably a year away from really being competitive and good in the ACC. What do you think about the schedule, Eric? Are you on the same boat as me? What are some of your thoughts about BC's schedule for 2021?
Yes. It lines up perfectly for them to make a run. Like the beginning of the season, it kind of ramps up week by week. The jump from Temple to Mizzou is pretty big, but that's 3 kind of warm-up games they get before Mizzou to find some things out at certain positions and get some people right. And potentially they have the schedule lines up for them to be 4-0 heading into Clemson and just riding high with confidence. And kind of no matter what happens with Clemson, win or lose, I mean, you get a bye right after that and then kind of coast into the second half of the season. And the last point I'll make is this is the most home games they've had in the month of November against ACC opponents. That ever since BC joined the ACC, I have noticed every year I look, and I always notice how BC's schedule is kind of backloaded with away games because they don't want to send the ACC teams up north to play BC. Potential cold weather games, and I noticed this year they're not even sending any of the Northeast teams to play BC. It's Virginia Tech, Florida State, Wake Forest. So they lots of favors I feel like got done for BC the way this schedule was constructed for them.
Yeah, and you're looking at the schedule and you're seeing you can map out 8-9 wins. What team on that schedule may be kind of a trap game or a game that you might think might give BC fits?
I think you brought it up, that kind of weird, Georgia Tech has stunk for a while, but I think if you look at their larger body of work, this might be a year that they kind of uptick in the kind of like the level of, instead of the basement dwellers they've been lately, kind of a little bit better than they've been in past years in the conference. And it's just kind of a weird spot on the schedule, sitting around the end of the year, their last road game. It kind of comes in the fifth straight week that they're playing a game, and then they go on the road for the last game. I don't know, of all those second half games, that's the one I look at and I'm like, oh man, that could be a trip up game if they aren't careful.
So I'm curious on your perspective, and I've been waiting about a month to talk to you, Eric. So I'm kind of curious on what your thoughts are. A lot of people they talk about Phil Dracovic or Zay Flowers. What player on Boston College it could be those two guys too. I don't know if that's who you'd pick, but who's the player you're most looking forward to watch this season?
Kobe White, actually, because going into last year, he was supposed to be the man, and obviously we know about the injury that happened, and man, I don't know that he can bounce back and immediately be the guy he was before his injury, but if he can, like, holy crap, man, watch out. Like, I don't remember a duo of BC receivers. If you get the old Kobe White, and maybe that's not realistic, enough time to let the man heal and get back to himself. I'm sure he's going to need a couple games to get going, but man, if he could get back to the kind of player he was, like, wow, that's special. I don't remember a BC wide receiver duo like that.
Yeah, I mean they've got some, that offensive the wide receiver room is going to be something. It's going to be interesting to watch. They've got some really talented guys. I don't know if you've caught some of our comments about Jaden Williams too, who's had a humongous preseason. And he's already drawing a lot of comparisons to Zay Flowers. I haven't had a chance to see him on the field, but he's another name to watch for, along with CJ Lewis. And there's a bunch of other guys. Trey Barry is the one I'm really excited to see. I want to see what he's able to do in the FBS, and he strikes me as a tight end that can be a difference maker on an offense like this. Like, he's going to be a challenge for teams to cover when you already have Zay Flowers and possibly Kobe White out there. All of a sudden you have all these matchup issues, and I think he adds a whole new wrinkle. So I'm interested to see that. Now, in a moment, Eric and I are going to talk about college football betting lines this weekend. This is something I always like to talk about with Eric. Before we do that, I want to tell you about the ultimate preview NFL preview show. The NFL season is about to begin, and nobody covers it like the Locked On Podcast Network. August 30th through September 8th, Locked On's Ultimate Season Preview is taking you through every team in every division with the help of Odyssey's Ross Tucker and Jason La Canafora. Follow the Ultimate Season Preview 2021 feed on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And while we're talking, let's chat a little bit about Built Bar. If you know me, you know I'm a big fan of the Built Bars. They are a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They're 100% covered in chocolate, and they are delicious. They don't taste gritty or chalky like some of those other protein bars, and they come in great, delicious flavors. Whether you try coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, and if you don't know which one you want, they have a mix box where you can get 2 of each. And now they're good, they're delicious, but what's the best part about Built Bar is their flavor, their nutrition profile. 17 to 18 grams of protein on most of them, 130 to 180 calories, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and 4 to 5 grams net carbs. For something that delicious, it's a bar you need to try. Now head on over to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll receive 15% off your order. Again, head on over to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. I'm joined with Eric Hoffses, who's going to be joining us once a week during the football season. And we're jumping out of the BC Colgate game. It's a lot of fun to talk about, FCS games and whatnot, but let's get into some talk about gambling. Now, later on, we'll talk a little bit about Bet Online, but there's some really interesting games this weekend, and I want to know Eric's thoughts. Eric is really good with the point spreads, or at least I think he is. He's better than me. I just kind of guess. But I want to get Eric's perspectives on a few games. Now, the ACC season kicks off on Thursday with South Florida and NC State. NC State's an 18.5-point favorite. We're not going to get into that one, but the second game is the one that I want to know Eric's thoughts on. North Carolina and Virginia Tech at Lane Stadium. UNC is only a 5.5-point favorite. Eric, who would you take in that game?
Well, I know. Based on your comments earlier, you're not buying Coach Fuentes and Virginia Tech. This one's interesting for me. I think I like North Carolina, but maybe in like a close game, like a field goal or 4-point game. Like, I don't know, like North Carolina getting tons of press clippings before the year about how good their roster is and stuff, and rightly so. They're a very good team, but I don't know. I've seen so many times where that super hyped team comes into the first game of the year, and usually they don't have like a road game like this, but I actually like Virginia Tech to cover that spread.
And so we head on over to Saturday. I'm not going to give you the Colgate BC spread because that one's just bloated, and I'm not big into talking about FCS spreads. It's 50, I believe, right now. This game could be an FCS game. Alabama and Miami. 19.5-point spread. What do you think about this game, Eric?
So I grew up loving the Canes and all those teams, from the Michael Irvin team in the 80s to Warren Sapp and stuff. So I actually am a little bit biased usually with Miami, but I look at all these preseason publications saying that they're one of the Coastal Division favorites. I see them ranked like number 14 in the country, and like, man, I'd love to see Miami return to prominence. I think it would help the ACC, but I don't quite see it. Like, I see them as being like a decent team, but not this like fringe top 10 team that their preseason ranking shows. So I think this could get ugly. And I know Bama, as usual, lost a ton of players, but like, if I'm betting with my life on the line, like I don't want any part of Miami in this game. And like I said, I'd love for them to win the game outright, but man, I cannot back the Canes here. I just don't think they're as talented as some people are making them out to be.
And I was on Locked On ACC yesterday, on Wednesday, and we were talking about this game. And the piece that came up was that De'Aaron King, he's coming back from a catastrophic injury, big-time injury. You're throwing him out there against one of, this Alabama defensive line that every year is filled with blue-chip recruits that can really bust up any good offensive line. How long is he going to last out there? I mean, do you leave him out there to possibly get hurt, against, and then their whole season is screwed? Or do you take him out and just kind of, take the L and just move on with it? I get this feeling that Alabama's going to go up big early. They're going to pull King, and this is going to be it. And it could be over really quick.
Hey, that's a great game theory for me picking Bama minus 19.5. So I like your line of thinking there. So
there's a couple more interesting games. We're going to skip the big one to the end, but skip ahead to Sunday. In this game, I'm interested in. Of almost all the ACC games, this one could be sneaky good. Notre Dame and Florida State, with Notre Dame as a 7.5-point favorite. Eric, where are you thinking about this one?
Well, I don't know how good Notre Dame is this year. I know they are coming with some hype, and they do every year. But one thing I do know is Florida State sucks. I think one of the first things I noticed when I was kind of combing through the Phil Steele magazine and the ACC stuff is they have like in the ACC, Phil Steele's ACC, he does the all ACC team, first through fourth team. Like on offense, Florida State has a third teamer. I'm sorry, they have a fourth teamer on offense, two fourth teamers on offense, and a fourth teamer on defense. Like this might be the worst Florida State roster in I don't know how long. So until Florida State does something, I would never take them, especially how bad they've been the last couple of years. I would never take them getting anything under double digits ever right now.
And on top of that, the key to their season, Mackenzie Milton, we're talking to the Locked On Florida State host, who says that he believes that he's not even going to start. He's not ready to go yet. So
I suppose I probably should have checked that before I put some money on this like I did. But yeah, that's great news for me then.
And then Louisville and Ole Miss, a 10-point spread. This is going to be an interesting game. Louisville last year, I'll give you just a little bit of background. There was a team that was just sloppy, tons and tons of turnovers. But there's talent there. But they also lost a lot on the offensive side of the ball. Where will they be this year? I think that's a big question because Malik Cunningham has the talent to do it. Can he fix those mental mistakes that really kind of blew up Louisville last year? Where are you in that game, Eric?
Yeah, they are such a weird team. Like you said, with the turnovers, they were minus 12 last year, and then on the flip side, they actually outgained opponents by 59 yards a game. So like those are two kind of odd stats, good and bad. And like of all the teams, I thought about this actually when you asked me about the schedule, and I almost picked the game at Louisville because I was like, I don't really know what this team is. Like I feel like I wouldn't be shocked if they finished like in third behind Clemson and BC. And I also wouldn't be surprised if they finished tied with like Florida State for sixth or something. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like they have a wide range of outcomes. So I personally won't be touching this game, but if I had to, I probably wouldn't play the Cardinals, just mostly because I actually don't really enjoy betting on Malik Jackson. Like I feel like anytime I get like his bad week, and his bad week is like really bad when he's off.
Yeah, he's a sloppy quarterback. You see the talent there, but you saw it against BC last year. Like he just couldn't hold on to the ball. And then finally, the big game, the game of the week. It's the game day game. Georgia against Clemson, and it's played in Charlotte, I believe. It's a 3-point Clemson favor here. Who do you get in this one?
Well, as you said, this is the game of the weekend, and I cannot wait for that game. I would take the points with Georgia just because it's kind of a coin flip game to me. It's two really good teams with outstanding players on both sides of the ball, and that's what I do in this case. Nothing. I don't really see like an edge with either team. Sometimes you get these top 5 games and you might see like a edge that one team can take advantage over the other, and I don't really see that in this game. I see both these defenses as really dominating, and if anything, I think it could be kind of a lower scoring game for a game that involves such highly ranked teams like this.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for Clemson. I get Georgia in this game, but if Clemson loses this is a strong. I don't know. I think there's a strong. I was saying this earlier this week that I think there's a strong possibility the ACC could get cut out of the college football playoffs.
Well, it's an interesting one for BC. Like if they're really going to have this magical year, because Clemson is used to being the bullies, and I don't know how they react if they start off the season 0-1 and kind of like start questioning, how good they are without Trevor Lawrence and some of those other guys. So interesting for BC fans to keep an eye on. That might see the first crack in Clemson's armor if Georgia can have this game break right here.
So we're going to talk in a moment about Eric's thoughts on Saturday's game against Georgia Tech, against Colgate in just a moment. But we're going to talk first about BetOnline. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to make all your sports wagers. Whether it's football or college football, BetOnline has you covered. And when you use promo code LOCKEDON, you're going to get 100% welcome bonus when you bet with BetOnline. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. And be sure to take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Super Bowl champion Bucs and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using promo code NFL100. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. This is AJ Black with Eric Hoffses. Before we get into our final topic, I just want to remind everyone, head on over to BC Bulletin. We have a ton of info up on the site about the game this week. We have a depth chart. You can see my final thoughts and predictions today, and everything else that you want to get ready for this game. I've done previews all summer long. You can get caught up and see our roundtables, discussions on game predictions. Everything is up. And if you want to bring Locked On Boston College with you to your tailgate to get ready for the game, we have all sorts of episodes. Whether you want to hear more about the preview to this game or my interviews with various Boston College commitments. I had Edwin Kalange on yesterday, and I had Sione Hala last week. You can catch all of those either on wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube, so check those out. So Saturday, it's the annual FCS game, Eric. It's a game that no one ever gets really excited about, but there's a little bit of excitement right now because this is the first time Boston College has played at Alumni Stadium with Jeff Hafley and Phil Dracovic. And it's been the first time that fans have been back at Alumni Stadium since 2019. What are your feelings about this game?
It's excitement that it's the first game of the year, like you said. Obviously, the opponent's underwhelming, and I always say this. I saw a stat. I don't remember if it was 35 or 40 points, but basically the last 6 times BC's played an FCS school, they've won by 35 or 40 points. I forget. Who cares? It's one or the other. They blow teams out from the FCS. We almost went a whole pod without talking about Daz, but that's one thing I always complimented Daz on was he was a hell of a bully, and he just bullied the hell out of these FCS schools and just creamed them with his O-line and running game, and I'd expect more of the same here. Although it's interesting, obviously with Hafley, probably one of the only games I didn't love of his last year was that Texas State game.
Yep.
Which was the only time we saw him go against kind of what was supposed to be a cream puff team outside the ACC, and it was a really close game. It was kind of like, and I'm not comparing him to friggin' Bill Belichick, but it's interesting. The Patriots do this sometimes when their heyday, when they play these crappy teams, like Belichick kind of wouldn't show a lot, would kind of do just enough to win the game. And man, if I don't think Hafley was doing that last year because that was way too damn close to them not winning the game. But I think that's the one interesting storyline is how Hafley plays this. We haven't seen him go up against the FCS opponent and how quickly he gets the starters out, and if he's trying to get something else accomplished, a part of his team that's not strong, there's lots of things. So that's probably one interesting storyline for me in this game is just seeing how he handles a game like this.
Now, I'm on board with some of the things you're saying, and the thing that I think is going to happen is, Hafley, I think, is going to try to keep this as vanilla as possible. So if you're expecting, big plays with Zay Flowers, they could be there, but they're not going to be throwing, the kitchen sink at Colgate because you don't need to put this on film for opponents. What I do think Boston College is going to do is show that they can win in the trenches. I think that you're going to see the running game try to establish itself because it stunk last year. Let's be honest. It wasn't good. And he had, David Bailey's gone. Pat Garwo's down the roster right now. Travis Levy's starting, but you get the sense that it won't be long before Xavier Coleman and Alex Sinkfield kind of get in. I think he's going to see what he has in his running game and try to get those big guys up front moving and see if he can do kind of what Adazio does and bully ball them and just take over the game that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think this is going to be an Adazio style where he's like, I want to beat these guys 65-0 and have Dracovic throw it 65 times like they could. If they wanted to beat Colgate by 70, they could. But I agree with you. I don't think he's going to do that. And I think getting his team out of here healthy is going to be a huge priority.
Yeah, that's a big one. So Eric, I mean, the spread's 50. Is Boston College going to cover 50 points?
Oh man. I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't know that I'd actually lean towards that because I kind of feel like Hafley is going to get the starters out of there early, especially with UMass, like another cream puff on deck. Like, he and Temple stinks too. I saw they were like over a 2-touchdown underdog at Rutgers this week. They got 3 easy games here to start the year. So no, if you held a gun to my head, I probably would take Colgate because I think the starters will be out there very fast.
Yeah, I think the spread's pretty close. I got them around like 49, like 47-49. So that's our thoughts on this. Now it'll be much more interesting. I promise. When my boss was talking about, every week we're gonna spread out and talk about these teams for a while. We're gonna talk about them. I'm like, do you really want me to talk about Colgate for 5 days? Because I don't want to put my audience to sleep, but we did it. This is Friday. I threw in some recruiting news. I had a conversation about college basketball scheduling, and we talked about Colgate for a little bit. But next week, we'll get into our discussion on UMass, and I will get into what happened to UMass and UConn this week. That was a segment, Eric, I don't know if you checked that out. It's my new trolling segment that I have. Where I go over UMass and UConn's games of the last week. So I went over UConn's game against Fresno State. And check that out. So I will be at the game on Saturday. I am credentialed for the game. I will be in the press box. I will have full coverage. Check me out at AJBlack_BC or my work at BC Bulletin. I'll have it locked on now right after the game where you can hear my thoughts about what happened. I'll be at the press conference for Jeff Hafley and all the players. Probably Phil Dracovic will be there. And we'll talk about all of that and more on next week's show. And Eric will join us. Eric, where can people follow you on Twitter and Instagram?
Well, for all my great football gambling advice, just my name, E.J., and then my last name, Hoffses. And for my barbecue, I'm at Hoffa Barbecue across all sorts of social media platforms.
All right, Eric, thanks for joining us. And check us out on Monday where we'll have full reactions to the Colgate game. This is AJ Black. Thank you all. Have a great weekend and enjoy some college football. Take care, everyone.